Republicans from around the country are in shock as they make their way to the GOP convention in Milwaukee, which starts tomorrow. Earlier this morning, I talked with Minnesota GOP Party Chair David Hann. Take a look. And joining us now is Chair Hann. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Chair Hann, I know that you are going to be on your way to Milwaukee to the Republican convention here in just minutes. Let me ask you, what was your reaction when you first heard the news of the attempted assassination attempt on President Trump's life, former President Trump's life?
Well, it's just shocking to realize that that happened. Our condolences, prayers go out to the individual who lost his life in the rally, and certainly prayers to President Trump. I understand he was injured, but is recovering well and not too seriously. So, but it's just to me tragic when the passions that surround our political differences turn into violence. That we can't have that. I just would hope that people will take a step back and recognize we can differ without going to such extremes as this.
All right, President Trump, former President Trump, had a pretty extraordinary reaction. He almost seemed like he was going to fight on. What was your reaction to his reaction?
Well, I don't know him personally. I've met him once, but by all accounts, he's a fighter. He's a guy who is willing to stand up for the country, and I think he wanted to show the people at the rally that he was fine and that he was going to continue to prosecute the campaign.
All right. Well, I know you just organized a successful rally a few weeks ago with President Trump. It was the biggest Republican fundraiser ever held in Minnesota. I believe it got $2 million. But let me ask you about the convention. Are you concerned about security at the convention?
Well, there's always a concern about security, but I understand that the officials in Milwaukee have been working with the Secret Service. They've created a zone. There will be protesters there. There's always protesters at every convention, but I think that they are going to be designated an area where they can conduct their free speech rights and kind of keep that away from the actual business of the convention. There'll be lots and lots of people there, of course, and we just want to make sure people are safe as they go about their business. So always a concern, but I'm not overly concerned. I think the Secret Service and the local authorities have got this under control.
Some people were expecting that perhaps former President Trump was going to announce his vice presidential pick at the rally. Now it looks like he's going to do it at the convention. What are your thoughts about his potential pick? Is there any one person of the names that are out there that you favor?
I'm neutral on this. The calculations that campaigns go into when they pick a vice president, of course, are complicated, I'm sure. And I know there's been several names mentioned, and I really don't have a clue. And to me, it's a decision the campaign needs to make, and they typically make it with some political consideration in mind. So we'll let them make that, and we'll work with whoever that person is.
How are you feeling about the president's chances? Obviously, everybody's in shock over what happened yesterday, but how are you feeling about the president's chances as he goes towards the election in November, 4 months away, and also his chances in Minnesota?
Sure. Well, I think his chances are very good. I think the polling shows that across the country. I think the Biden administration has not done well. And I think the president himself, President Biden, has not been very effective, as we've all seen. So these things, I think, are all playing in the favor of President Trump and his campaign across the country. As you probably know, Minnesota is now so-called a battleground state. The campaign and the RNC have a strong interest in carrying Minnesota for the Republican candidate. I believe that they will do that. I think the polling in Minnesota is also very strong, and they are prepared to come into Minnesota with a pretty good commitment of resources. So we expect to have a close election here, but we do think that President Trump will prevail in Minnesota, and Republicans will have a good year this year.
All right, Chair Hann, thank you so much for your time.
Yep, good to be with you.